The one that always tries to tell me that I'm not as pretty as white girls.
What?
You can be a girl boss.
Am I a piece of shit?
Margaret Thatcher is not a feminist is a great question.
Mehek, as one of TikTok's creators to look out for 2022, which do you think is closer? The codependent relationship between brown boys and their mums, or the relationship between British Asians and Lotus Biscuits?
This is a great question. Probably the former, because it doesn't get any closer than that. This is not close to home at all.
I've got my therapy session next week, in fact. I do like Lotus Biscuits as well. So, you don't. So you don't like your mum or Lotus Biscuits? Wow. Or was that the corollary of what you were saying?
Podcast episode is really like harming my brand as a British South Asian. I also don't like chai.
Oh, whoa.
Is it possible to be a Tory and a feminist?
I think they call those things girl bosses. That starts a whole discourse in and of itself, whether or not modern feminism actually represents working class people of colour on the left. I think you can be a girl boss. That's the extent I would say.
What do we mean by Tory? What do we mean by feminist? There are definitely definitions of both those two where they can overlap. But then if you're talking about like meaningful intersectional feminism, which takes into account in histories of people of colour, for example.
Margaret Thatcher is not a feminist icon in any way, shape or form.
Can you be a Lib Dem and a feminist?
This is a really big discussion about like the breadth of feminism, or whether I truly identify with the Western or modern idea of feminism, because ultimately it is a movement that caters to a very select group of people. So probably...
If you could design a TikTok filter to specifically exploit the vulnerabilities and insecurities of young people, what would it be and why?
Gen Z have the like haircut which covers their forehead, right? I suspect that because of lockdown, right, there was a lot of looking at yourself on a screen. Now, when you look at yourself on a screen, your forehead looks bigger than it is. If you want to create a filter that really messes with people's insecurities, forehead expander.
I have a question. How would you curate your apology video?
Starting your apology video at like changing the volume.
The sound isn't sad enough for my apology.
I would like sit down on the edge of my bed. Okay.
Oh, not the side.
I'd make sure I look a little bit worse for wear around the eyes, and then I'd just like apologize for like being sponsored by Raytheon or whatever. Hyphen, how do you uplift South Asian women?
Pointing to the reasons why South Asian women aren't treated well is a useful thing that I can potentially do, but I shouldn't be the loudest voice in that. You should.
I like that answer. Not like, what's his name on TikTok? I forgot his name. The one that always tries to tell me that I'm not as pretty as white girls.
What? Okay.
Anush? Avanish. That's it. Yeah, he says it to every brown girl. And I internalize it now. So I do appreciate it's more than just like pointing at a couple texts on a TikTok screen. Yeah, that's a great way to uplift South Asian women.
Well, thanks, I guess.
Which is better, North, South, or East London?
I'm gonna have to say North. However, people in South London are a lot nicer.
East London is quite cool. You did a really good video on the gentrification of East London. It's very gentrified, and sometimes I feel guilty for enjoying the fruits of gentrification's labour. These brunch places are lovely, but am I a piece of shit? I don't know. This is something I wrestle with often.
Do you think that British Asians have forgotten their radical past?
I do think that we have. I want to be kind. It's very much like hidden. It's not an accessible part of history. It's something that you'd have to go out of your way to understand. The only reason that I know quite a bit is because my family have had to go through so much when they kind of came here in the 50s and the 60s.
There's a wrestler who Bruce Lee considered his biggest inspiration. He was a Pakistani guy. There are people of South Asian heritage who've done all these amazing things, and you just won't hear of them unless you're looking for it.
Do you think there should be a maximum age limit for voting in the general election?
You know, gun to my head, probably don't have a limit.
The biggest demographic factor in how people vote is age. It's not ethnicity, it's not location. Personally, my view is that there shouldn't be a minimum age, and there should be a maximum age. The maximum age should be 35. And I think we should let babies vote. That's their choice as citizens. It's their democratic right. Leave them alone, helpless. We'll have like vultures circling overhead.
If you showed a baby a Tory election video and then a Labour election video, who would they be more inclined to vote for if they, like, you know, they can like crawl over and be like somehow indicate preference?
I mean, babies can be racist, so...
Is that an answer to the question?
You know, my worst enemy, Rishi Sunak, his most recent campaign video would sway even a child. The whole like sob story and then the whole like ready for Rishi, it's really easy to digest. I actually want to give babies more credit because I do think that they're smarter than that.
Have you seen the video of Rishi Sunak saying, "I love Coke"?
I'm a Coke addict. Total Coke addict. Coca-Cola addict.
You can see his eyes like widen with glee, and he's like,
Do you ask everyone this question?
I actually have 7 fillings because I just love Coke. I hope that recirculates. Let this be the reason it recirculates.
Is there anything you'd like to plug?
Recycle more.
Follow me, mehek.mp4. Yeah, and hyphen the rapper. But after me, read my recent article all about gentrification and why East London was the best place. Well, actually, no, let me say that bit again because I'm gonna get cancelled. Read my most recent article about gentrification.
I mean, stick to your guns if you like. Like, it's fine. But okay. Bye.